afternoon to class. Welcome to class, guys. Good afternoon. It's me again. I'm Onos. Um, Welcome to today's class. So today we'll be talking about isometric illustrations. Before we proceed to class, I would like to tender my sincere apologies concerning the downtime, especially on your dashboard. Um, we are effortlessly working hard to fix it. You get to see your details, and for those that have reached out concerning issues on their dashboard or not being able to join classes on Discord and all, we're still working on it as well. I'm sure a follow-up message or a follow-up information will be sent regarding this. Um, okay, we're currently like there's how do I put this? There's this power surge, and you know it rained heavily and there's power surge, um, or there's a spike in the electricity and all. Anyways, I'm trying not to be big on grammars. So um, okay, okay. Sorry, I'm trying to communicate with the technical team. When they give me the information I require, I'll relate to you guys. So basically, okay, I'm not sir. All right. Um, Please, I would like to know in the section if you can hear me. If you can hear me, please let me know. Um, if you can hear me, please do let me know. Um, I don't want us to waste so much time on clarifications and also. If you can hear me, just let me know so we can get started with the class. Alright, I'm still hoping for responses. Oh, okay. Alright, thanks, thanks. Okay, I did not really say, I did not really say we should respond with emojis. I remember the last class I took, I know I said we should respond with emojis, but that was a different class. I remember talking on colors. Okay, colors will play a big role in today's class as well. But even um, moving ahead, let's just get started with class. So today we'll be talking about isometric illustrations. Um, Now, what do we mean by isometric illustrations? Quickly, I would show my screen and get to explain what isometric or the perspective of isometric illustration. All right, let's get to it. Um, all right, thanks. I think there's a little lag in the whole network thing, so I'm just getting to see your messages now. Sorry about that if I kept on repeating the question. I really am sorry. I thought nobody was paying attention to me. So yeah, so getting started with the class. Um, Isometric illustration. Um, I'm going to give you my own honest to God answer. You get or honest to God review on what isometric illustrations are. Isometric illustrations basically, it's just trying to mimic. I'm using the word loosely. Trying to mimic the 3D world in a 2D perspective as well. Do you understand? So we're just trying to picture or trying to mimic how things are in 3D perspectives in a flat 2D style. You understand? Everything is all about perspective. You get based on how I think one superpower of designers is how they get to manipulate things and or actually change the perception of people. They kind of bend. I think yeah, they kind of bend using the word coined from Avatar, the Last Airbender. Anyways, um, I think designers they get to bend reality. They bend it to they kind of um, portray things to your own perception. Okay, so now like I said, isometric illustration is more of like converting, mimicking the 3D world in 2D perspective. Do you understand? So basically, I'm sure you're seeing grids on my Illustrator artboard now, and you're like, okay, what the hell am I looking at? We'll get right into that soon. Um, Now, in mimicking the 3D world, there are some there are some set rules or set perspectives you have to, or you need to actually put into perspective for you to actually create that. If not, you would not maybe get an actual great result. So now, personally, I think I was introduced to IBM's isometric style, IBM isometric illustration style by Leye. I was introduced to it by Leye, and it has just been amazing so far. It has really been amazing so far because IBM's, I think the way I think we'll leave a link to the article because honestly, if you want to grow, like one thing that actually differentiates an experienced designer and a junior designer is how well you can read, like things, how well you expand your knowledge. Okay, okay, how well you expand your knowledge. Sorry, hopefully I don't kiss this mic today, but I'll try to speak closer to the mic. Um, so um, basically, how well you can speak. Okay. Um, sorry. I don't know if I can block my eyes from the technical team. They keep giving me so many things. I don't know if maybe it's because I'm camera shy or so. I really am sorry, and I apologize for them, for their sake, rather. So basically, wow. Honestly, some of these things that are happening right now should maybe be part of bloopers, but I'm glad you guys can see behind the scenes while in the scene. So enjoy with me, enjoy with us. It's meant to be fun. Design is meant to be fun. So I'll try not to be too strict. And although when we're going into this isometric illustration, you have to follow some strict rules. It's only when you get to know more about these rules that you get to bend them. You understand? So basically, let's get straight into it. So isometric illustration is like I said, manipulating the 3D world into 2D. So now in doing this, you have to construct objects or construct these 2D objects in form of angles. You have to manipulate them or twist them in form of angles for people to understand. For those of you who don't know, my good friend Timmy was here just now and he was dancing for he was dancing for me to see. Yeah, he's a very joyous guy to be around though. A really good friend. Same with Leia. I really don't think you want to see Leia dancing though, but I think we can manage Timmy's own. Or I'll try to be cracking jokes along the way. So please encourage my ministry as I try to make short puns and jokes. You get so that at least I make the class lively and all. Why shall I shy? I really am shy though. I don't know what to say. So basically, I would like to know in the comment sections, you know, if you've heard of the word isometric before, and when you've heard of the word isometric, what did you think of? Like, what came to mind when you saw the word isometric? Before I actually jump into things, you understand? I want to ensure that we are all on like a level playing field, so that everybody kind of understands what we are going through before before we continue. So like if you've heard of the word isometric, I don't know, maybe just one, two people, just let me know what and for those who might be watching this class after after it has gone off, like when it's no longer live, I think you can also just drop your comments on Discord. Get Let's hit Discord up. Let's interact with people. You get So I believe even after the class, on Discord, you can just drop your thoughts concerning isometric. Let people who haven't joined currently, let them be able to say, wow, okay, what are we missing? What do we what do we think we have missed so far? Okay. All right. Cool. Cool. So Ruth, thank you. That's really key. Technical drawing, technical drawing. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think we all remember the times when we were carrying technical drawing boxes, all those technical drawing boards and all. So for those of you who will be watching this class later, maybe anytime you see my face and you're not seeing the computer screen, you can skip if you want to, if you want to be fast with the class. But since it's a live class, we need to ensure a level of interaction as we go through the design. So it's not just design, 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 design. Do you understand? Okay. So people are saying shapes. Some people are saying angles. Yeah, everything all together, like all together actually. Intro tech. Yeah, I remember doing intro tech in school as well. So shapes, angles, everything works hand in hand to construct or manipulate things in real world. So now basically let's jump into this design quickly. Um, so now things like who Abimbola, sorry if I'm not pronouncing it in the Yoruba strong way. Abimbola, or I'll just say Bola, she pointed out angles. Yes, angle is very, very important in um, isometric illustrations. Also shapes. So now, if you notice, what you're seeing here is a grid, is an isometric grid. Any isometric illustration, any and every isometric illustration you get to see, or like the bedrock of any isometric illustration you get to see, is all formed from this grid. Now, quick thing, don't be too intimidated by this grid. You get, I'll show you how this grid was constructed before we jump back into using this grid for design. Now, basically these grids are constructed using different angles. You get, it's constructed using different angles to form all this. So all of this you're seeing are just lines. If you've not been maybe based on the introduction to Illustrator, if you don't understand what you're seeing, or you're asking yourself, why are these lines blue? Or why can't I, when you create a shape, for example, when you create a shape, it can be, it's movable. But if you notice something is happening here, it's not movable. So I'm going to give you a quick tour or a quick intro into what guides are. So if you notice, if you see my cursor while it's moving, you will see a small kind of purple information here showing you guide. I don't know if I really can't zoom in. If I zoom in self, it will not. Okay. Even if I zoom in more, okay, maybe I can try. So you will just see this purple thing called guide. You understand? So that's what. Now, what are guides? Guides basically just help you structure. Guides just. I'm really, really sorry, Kayode. I'm not used to the mic. I'll keep adjusting every time you point it out. So anytime my voice is low, please just call me back. I'll structure my mouth back to the mic. So basically, guides help you structure your design. So anything you're going to do in design, especially in layouts, do you understand? Guides are going to be very, very helpful. You understand? Instead of, for example, I've seen people do things like this. Maybe you want to give a margin in your design, like a margin on the left side of your design. Then I've seen people use maybe a square, and they put a square and they start typing maybe Ali goes to school and Ali come away. So basically, they want to maybe give a left margin so that nothing bleeds or goes. Wow, Alex, sorry. So something like this. Taiwo, please let me know if you can still hear me or not. So we know if it's something technical or if it's not. So you see people doing things like this. They are trying to walk along this line, or maybe they are typing and everything. They don't want to. Same with your notebooks. If you notice your notebooks, all those A4s and all, there are lines on it. There are lines on each line, like for you to write. Please, if you can confirm if you're still hearing me or if you can't hear anything, let's ensure we correct that. So there are lines on your notebook. You understand? Those lines, even some of them, they mimic. If you notice, this design too is kind of blue. So now those lines mimic. And when you are writing in your notebook, you know you are following everything per line. When you are writing, you are following everything per line. That's just structurally, that's what guides are. You understand? When you're writing, everything is proper and structured. So now, how do we create these guides? Guides are simple. There are different form of guides. Basically, I'll show you how guides are used. So quickly, I'll right click and you will see something called guides and all. Let me just use grid to quickly show you. So now this is a grid in Illustrator. I just turned on my grid by right clicking and clicking show grid, hide grid. So now you will come to the view panel. You will see something called guides. Are you seeing it? You see something called guides. Now these guides, okay, these guides, there are different ways you can use guides. You can snap maybe what you're doing, the object, you can snap it to a grid. Now, how does snapping to a grid work? So once I create an object, just look at this grid here. They are made up of different boxes. You notice how, can you see, it's snapping to each grid. So now that's the way a guide works sometimes. Now this is automatic. you can create some yourselves, but like this is automatic. If you notice how it's snapping into the grid, like now let me try and show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to turn it off again. Snap to grid, I'm turning it off. Now if you notice, look at all this. Let me zoom in. You see all these boxes now. Can you notice I'm going in between all these boxes? I can move these shapes in between these boxes. But now, if I go back and turn on snap to grid, just watch what happens. Can you see it is snapping to all those boxes now? It is snapping to those grids. That is what is happening. That is what snap to grid does. Snap to pixels. And pixel based on the resolution, your document setup. When you come to your document setup, based on the artboards you have here, edit artboards. Based on the artboard you have here, I should have switched this to pixels. But like if you have maybe 1080 by 1080, that's 1080 by 1080 pixels. So it's going to be moving based on each of those pixels, like one of those 1080. So if you increase maybe the resolution of your artboards to maybe 3000 by 3000, it will be moving based on those pixels as well. Do you understand? So if you notice, there's this kind of slight hiccup when you're moving this thing. It is if you notice, it's not moving smoothly. It's not moving smoothly. It's moving like in a step, like as if it's breaking. That is how pixels work. Fortunately or unfortunately, I cannot show you the exact each of those tiny boxes that make up those 10,000 pixels and 1080 pixels. Then the last one is snap to point. Let me turn this other ones off. I'm right clicking and showing you these things. Normally I could use the shortcuts, you understand, but one thing first, I don't want to stress my mouth saying command on the keyboard, control on Mac, or so control command on keyboard. Okay, I'm stressing myself already. So like command on the Mac, control on the PC. That's one. Then also I would suggest you learn how to use shortcuts. Like they are lifesavers. As designers, you need to be efficient. You need to work very efficient and smart. So shortcuts would play a long role. But quickly, um, let me jump into what guides are. So basically, now I want to work on a design. Let me turn off this grid. I want to work on a design, and I want to give a margin all around my design. Do you understand? So basically, maybe I draw a grid here. I'm not doing everything structurally. Normally I should, you understand, like the same number of spacing on the left will be the same on the right. But just for what they call it, explanation purpose, this is what will happen. Um, so let me say I'm giving margin at the top. That is where my design will start. I'm giving margin at the bottom as well. So what am I doing now? I'm selecting all these lines. So after I select all these lines, I can right click. Sorry. I'll go to the view again. When you go to view, you will see something called guides. You will then see make guides. You understand? When you click make guides, you see everything turns blue. You can choose to lock it on smart guides. Once you turn on smart guides, it's going to be smart to actually pick. If you notice, it is looking at the guides, looking at elements in your design, and it is moving them straight to fit those guides as well. So once smart guides are turned on, just watch what happens. Can you see? Just when you zoom in here, just notice how it snaps to these guides at the left as well. You see it shows intersect. It shows a kind of extra pinkish line to show you that what it is sitting straight on that line. So all of these things help in precision. It's very essential to use guides, especially when you're then working with isometric illustrations. I'm sorry if I've taken too long trying to stress the whole importance of guides. Please, if you can drop in the comment sections what you thought about guides and how you think they'll be helpful to you. Please just let me know. I'll reference them once my network or once your network catches up with my speed. Yeah. So currently I'm in the future. I'll be waiting for your feedback soon. So now, isometric illustrations. Like I said, all these guides here are made up of lines. To be very honest, they are made up of lines. You understand? So now these lines are drawn. They are drawn in different perspectives. They are drawn in different angles rather to follow being Bola said, they are done in what? They are done in lines. They are done in angles rather. These lines are done in angles. So now, as they are drawn in different angles, they create this perspective. And when you start drawing shapes on those angles, you understand, you create a perspective, a kind of thinking that okay, this thing is in 3D space, just as you've done in maybe intro tech, in your in introduction to this thing, yeah, intro tech, the same thing. You understand? That's how stress of maybe drawing with your rulers and all, and just use this grid. And like I said, as a designer, one thing you should keep in your arsenal is your list of resources. Initially, this is how. I'll show you how these things are formed, how these lines were formed. I'll just give a quick depiction of how they were formed. I'm not doing everything geometrically. That means, what I mean is like, I'm not doing everything with the proper spacing. There's a proper spacing that should be accounted to all of this. Why am I using black? Okay. So now, first things first, there's also a tool here called transform. So at the transform tool, you will see the angles you're working at. So this is what I'll be rotating to keep everything. This rotate button here, when you click on the transform, you first have to select the object. Once you select the object, you click on transform. When you click on transform, you'll be able to see this is the x-axis, x and y, basically the position it is on the artboard. Then the width and height is like the length and height. Then you have skew. This one skew is shear rather. So basically, this is what it just does too. So if it were a, sorry, I've messed things up. Let me just, that's something for another class. So the next you have rotate. The major thing we want to focus on is the rotate. So now when you're okay, thank you, Ruth. Ruth, I think the technical team is saying you, Ruth, since Ruth has been the one answering questions and all. Guides and helps. The isometric guides, they help align elements in your design. So guides are very helpful. They help you structure your design. They help you align your designs properly. So now, if you notice, isometric illustrations are drawn on angles. They are drawn on angles. I'm going to try to remember the angles they are drawn on. I think they are drawn on the straight axis. They are drawn on the 90. In your a little bit of mass will be needed. So on your a straight line that is vertical, it goes up to the angle 90. You understand, as well as angle 270. So we are taking a full cycle now, which is 360 degrees. So we are drawing a straight line first. So that angle, if you click on this transform here, the transform button, you will notice it's showing you the angle, what, 370. That is what it was rotated to. So now that's on the straight or plane axis. You understand? Then when it is rotated, it's going to be rotated left and right. So now in one angle, it's going to be rotated 270. In another angle, it's going to be rotated around 30, 270. I'm going to show you what I mean. So now the first one is this. So I'll press Ctrl C, copy, and Ctrl V. Sorry, I'll hold Ctrl Shift V to paste in place. Now what that does is, I made a duplicate of this copy, but I'm making a duplicate on top of that other one. Do you understand? So I'm just Ctrl Shift V and placing it. You want to duplicate the last object on top of that one, but once you press Ctrl V, so that one places the duplicate above everything else. Since I'm doing it more of like an introduction to Illustrator and isometric illustrations, I'll try to explain everything as I go. So now I'm going to quickly explain the difference between Ctrl F and Ctrl Shift V. So now I'm going to make objects with different colors. Pardon me as I'm doing all of this. We'll soon do like a advanced to straight, like a beginner to advanced class straight up now. So now this is what control. Okay, let me not make the spacing too far apart. Now this is, I'm going to duplicate the red object, the red square. So I press Ctrl C, Ctrl Shift V. See what Ctrl Shift V does? It places the newly duplicated object. It places it above everything else. So now Ctrl F places it in the front. Now I'm pressing Ctrl C and Ctrl F. Now I've made a duplicate. What happens? The duplicate is in front of the red one, but it's still underneath what? The yellow and blue one. This is what I mean. Can you see what I mean? But now if I press Ctrl C on this red object and press Ctrl Shift V, it places the duplicated object above, like on top of every other thing. But if I press Ctrl F on the red object, it places it directly in front or directly above that object. That's safe to say you understand what I just said. So now going straight to the angles. So now I'm going to make a duplicate, Ctrl C, Ctrl F, Ctrl Shift V, since we're just using one object. So now what happens is I come to the transform, and I'm just going to be doing everything for you to see. I'm rotating now till we get to what? 330. Yes, 330, yeah. 330. We're going to do one on 330, the angles. Just notice, so if you notice, I'm sure you should start seeing a kind of perspective from even this. Now I'm going to take this straight one again, Ctrl C, Ctrl F, Ctrl Shift V, either works. So now I come to transform, and I'm rotating it. You know the first one I rotated it like left, the second one I'm going to rotate it rightwards. Yes, rightwards. So now I'm going to turn towards the angle 210. Do you notice this? Angle what? 200 and what? 210. So now if you notice, I've created the first set of lines. The first set of lines. So what I'll just be doing now is to be moving these angles. I'll be duplicating them. So now duplicating, another easier method to duplicate is what? Holding the Alt key. So now I highlight both of them. Once you hold your mouse and you drag over all these objects, you can highlight everything at once. I'm going to hold the Alt key. Alt key, if you notice my cursor changes from, just look at my cursor, it changes from this transform you're seeing here to two icons. So now those two icons means what? You're about to make a duplicate. So what happens? I'm holding the Shift key also to keep everything straight. So if I'm only holding the Alt key, do you understand? It might not be as straight, but if I want it to be fixed upon either vertical or the horizontal axis or diagonally around 45 degrees, I'm going to hold the Shift key. Do you understand? So as I'm holding the Shift key, you notice I can move straight on the horizontal axis, on the vertical axis, and straight at what? 45 degrees. 45 and the other bottom degrees. Do you understand? So now I'm holding the Shift keys. I take this thing up. So now once I take it up, you notice on this part there's an intersection here. There's another intersection here. So what I'm just doing is I'm coming here. Now, like I said, all of this should have been done with proper measurements. Everything has to be equal. So now I'm already drawing the lines. I come again, I take these two. I duplicate it. What do I just do? I just come here and I'm putting this line here. So now there are other ways to get this done. Like I said. So don't just follow one set rules. One way I like, the reason why I'm doing it this way is to what? So that I can select all of them, come to view, and I can make it a guide. So once I come to guide, since they are all lines, I take them out. Once I come to guide, I can click on make guide. Do you understand? So what I've just done here becomes a guide where I can then start drawing my shapes on, and everything is everything is clipping to that guide. So that's basically how. So now if you look at yourself, so basically if you continue iterating or repeating that process I did here, you're going to get something like this. So now I believe you will now start asking yourself, okay, why do I have to do this when the resource is online? Like, there are many resources online where you can even just go to Google and just search isometric grid. Do you understand? Isometric grid, and it will pop out. So please don't work hard, work smart. So you go online, we're going to share this resource. I'm winking my technical team. I'm winking our team now to remember to share, what's the name? To share this isometric grid with those of you that want to try out the isometric grid. So now back to this now. I'm sure I would like to get feedback now. If you've understand everything, if you understand everything I've talked about so far, from isometric, what isometric is, to angles you can create isometric illustrations on, you understand, to drawing, to how these perspectives are done on the isometric grid. if you have any questions, you can let me know now before I proceed to, actual work. We've just been talking since. Um, so please, you let me know in the comment sections, you know, your thoughts so far, what you think of the whole isometric grid. Um, yeah. So now, I would like the questions or anything you need clarity on. So basically, this isometric grid, if you start looking at it, for example, if you zoom in, I'm sure if you look at maybe this section, sorry, let me lock this grid. So I can select this grid, right click on it, and I'll see, sorry, there's no need to select the grid. Once you right click, you will see something called lock guides. Oh, okay, that's great to know. So let me highlight this part. Now, if you look at this part, if you look at this thing critically, you will be seeing beyond, you're going to be seeing beyond, how many sides are this? Is this a hexagon or a heptagon? Okay, you're going to be seeing, okay, I think it's an octagon, right? Okay. Okay, sorry, it's a hexagon. So you're going to be seeing beyond the hexagon. You're going to be seeing like a box. You're going to be seeing like a box, like a 3D box, like an open box. If you don't believe me, let me prove that to you. So basically, like we said, isometric is just combining what angles and shapes, you understand, in a proper perspective. Now, quickly, before I enter this, now, those of you that are still seeing just a hexagon here, those of you that can see a box, like a 3D box, you let me know, tell me why. And those of you that are seeing a hexagon, still let me know. Okay, let me just make it a poll. Those of you that can see a hexagon, just type hexagon. Those of you that can see a 3D box, type 3D. Do you understand? Then we are going to try and bring that to life. So if you're seeing just a hexagon, like I said, if you're seeing just a hexagon alone, indicate it. If you're seeing a 3D box, indicate it as well. I would love to know your feedbacks before I continue. Sorry. Okay. Joshua says she can see a box. Root. Okay. Okay, sorry. 3D box. If everybody's seeing 3D box and nobody's seeing a hexagon, and that's cool. Alright, everybody's seeing a 3D box. Okay. Alright, let's bring that to life then. Okay, I like the brutal honesty of Tomilola, I guess. Tommy or Tommy Abby. Alright, sorry, I'm not your boy. Okay, some people are seeing, Abimbola as well is seeing a hexagon and a box. Alright, now let's bring it to life. Let me make it as small as this first. So now everything you're going to be drawing now, you're going to be conforming your shapes. At the very least, when you're using boxes, you have to ensure opposite lines of those boxes are meeting. Do you understand what I mean? Opposite lines of those boxes are following one part of this grid. Do you understand? I'm going to show you what I mean. Either the vertical lines or the horizontal lines, they have to meet. Do you understand? They have to sit on the grid. And also, isometric illustrations are done with geometric shapes. Geometric shapes in what sense? Rectangles, squares. Rectangles, squares, and mainly rectangles, squares, circles, and triangles. So they are done with those basic shapes. So now let me draw this first box. So now if you notice how everything is snapping to the line. So now I've created the first thing. Now all of them, they are still sitting on what? On this grid. So basically to move ahead, I basically like using the direct selection tool. Now there are two major arrows you're seeing here. The first one is direct selection. Direct selection helps you move the entire object. While direct selection, it helps you move points. It helps you manipulate an object so you can move points. So now if you notice these things, they are what? They'll be movable. initially they are in white, but once you select them, if you click on the what they call it, the move tool, or this the first selection tool here, you notice they are all in white. But once you click on the what direct selection tool, you can select angles or edges of a shape. So now what we're going to do is I highlight both these shapes, and both these edges rather, and I'm going to move it now. Just watch what I did. Did you see? So now I'm moving both this edge now to conform to what? From here, I'm moving it to conform to this. Do you get? Now, can you see everything is on that same what? That same angle or axis? If you know you're having any issues understanding what I'm saying, please let me know. Now, I press Ctrl C, Ctrl Shift V this time. Now, I made a duplicate. So now that duplicate, I'm picking it again, and I'm moving it what? Along this axis. That's one. Then I press it. This is one easy way now, because everything needs to sit on the grid properly. Because once you start doing once you start using shape builders to maybe to unite objects and all, it's going to be very tricky if these objects are not sitting properly in the grid. So this is one method I know helps. So I press the Ctrl C and Ctrl V again, and I press Ctrl C, Ctrl Shift V again. What is happening? We form the box. Now once I use I can highlight everything. I'm sure you're still seeing the hexagon. But now I'm going to click on the what? Shape builder. I'm merging all these boxes together. Sorry, I was not meant to merge that one. So basically, what is the shape builder? The shape builder just basically helps you merge shapes together. So you can either remove merge objects to form a shape, or you can remove some sections of those objects to form a different shape. So now let me say this is why the class also on shades and tints was necessary. So what I'm going to do is to use different shades and tints now, just to portray the example of a 3D box. So now also let's picture sunlight, because if you've ever rendered in 3D before, you will notice you have to put lighting in your design. So now imagine this is your 3D space, and you have to put lighting somewhere, just as you're seeing lighting around me. You understand? The light has to come from somewhere and it's shining on me. You understand? So when you are doing 3D as well, you need to have a base understanding on or where the light is coming from, or where the light is portraying into your design. Do you understand? So for example, now my light is coming from here. So let me say the light is coming from here, and it is going to shine like this into my object. You understand? You're not meant to draw this, so I'm just giving you a perspective. So that means the light, sorry, let me move the light here instead. So the light is shining on this object like this. So that means this part will be what? The brightest, if I'm right. This part will be the brightest. So let me give it a what? Let me remove this stroke first. Alright, I'm sorry, we're having, it's starting to rain again, so I think I'm having network difficulties. Okay. I'm sorry, we're still having a few technical difficulties. Okay, please let me know if you can hear me. If you can hear me, let me know. Let me know in the comment section. If you have any questions so far, still let me know as well. If you can hear me, please let me know. Send me feedback. Okay. All right. All right. I can see that. Okay, thanks. Sorry, we are really sorry for the technical difficulties. Um, okay. Yeah, it's the network. It's raining. It's raining. Um, okay, let's just use the regular. It's raining cat and dogs here. So please pardon us. All right. So now, if you're pumped or if you're excited to, get to draw a car in the isometric style, please just respond with your favorite emoji and let's get started. Just let me know. Respond with your favorite emoji. You can respond with a vehicle. Um, you can respond with with your, anything, but like a vehicle or something. Respond with an emoji if you're excited or pumped to create a vehicle using isometric style quickly. We're going to have to cover that quickly. Um, Not quickly though. I'll try to be explanatory along the way. I'll try to be give explanations along the way while creating these illustrations. Okay. I don't. I really don't know. I really don't know what emoji that is by Peter. I really don't know. Okay, I think that's a monkey, a walking monkey or so, or a handy. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm really confused at the moment. Okay, people are responding with taxi, a vehicle. All right, cool. Let's create a vehicle now. So basically, I'll be in focus mode. I would go halfway, and I come back to YouTube to I come back to the comment sections to pick your questions if you have any. All right. So now let's get into it. So now we're going to draw a vehicle in the isometric style, 3D isometric. Um, so let's get started. Since what's his name? Let me try and get whose name. I think somebody responded with like a taxi. Someone responded with a taxi. I think David Yodo. Okay, monkey business. All right, thank you, Peter. All right, we're not doing a car. I'll be a scooter or a bicycle. But I think we can, if we have time, we're going to do a scooter. We're going to do a quick scooter if we have time. But if we don't have time, let's do a taxi. Let's do a taxi quickly. So now we're going to start with the taxi isometric illustration. So now let's get started. Okay, I think what I'm going to try and do first is I'm going to first try and do a van. When I do a van, we'll then try and go complex a bit into doing you know into doing a taxi. So a van will be I think let me not I'll use this word loosely. It's going to be a bit simpler to create a van, you understand, than doing this car since it has different edges. So now let's start with a van first. Um, so basically I first start with my rectangle. I'm going to start with the roof part of the car, of the van. So now I draw my rectangle. Um, so all I'm trying to do is to adjust it along this line. So if you notice, I've snapped it. I'm trying to snap it along. Sorry, I think I made a mistake. These two parts, they need to. So anything you're doing, each edge, like each part must touch this point. Do you understand? So now this first top edge is touching this point, like this intersection of all these angles, of all these lines going through. The first part is touching that edge. The second one also has to touch it. Do you understand? So now it is touching this edge. Do you get what I'm saying? So now I can continue with my what? With my work. So now you can choose to adjust it anyhow you feel right. So now if you notice, once you're not on the grid first, it is shaking out. But once it's sitting properly on that grid, you will notice this line, instead of it being just blue, it will look almost green because it's sitting properly in line with it. So now, I'll just be adjusting, sorry. I'm just going to be adjusting things. Alright. So I'm trying to just get the top part of the van. I mean, so basically, I will not just advise you to just jump into complex shapes in isometric illustrations. You just try and, play with the smaller ones first, then you jump into, the complex ones. This one is not really complex, so I believe you can go around with it, or you can play around with it. So yeah. Oh, sorry, I did not make a duplicate. So currently I cannot see your questions, just in case. But if you have any questions, once I've gone halfway in this, I'll come back to check your questions. Um, so this is just me basically doing Control C, Control V, and I'm taking these edges. Okay, you know what? Let me make it a bit smaller. Alright, so this as well. So if you press the Z key, even if you're on a Mac or on a PC, it's going to still show you the same thing. It's going to still zoom out. That's for the zoom. So I press this again. So basically, I love building from already created shapes. You understand? So it's going to be easier to create this to merge things together, like I explained earlier. Is this good enough? All right. So if you notice what I'm doing, I'm just using different parts and moving them around. I'm sure we should be able to see the van coming out nice by now. Um, so basically, there will be more complex shapes for you to form out later on. There will be way more complex shapes. But for now, let's just, use, mainly, if you notice, we've just been using squares and rectangles. And you don't need to be a jack of all trades as well in doing isometric illustrations. What you can do is you can just as well just go online, see isometric illustration styles you like. Okay, there's a question. Sorry. I hope, please let me please just try and maybe rephrase your question so I understand what you mean by, or what you think I moved severally before starting. So maybe this is the screen, this is the windscreen part. Maybe I can just put um I can just put a white, like what they call this thing? The normal thing you use to clean the screen or wipe the screen wiper. I'm sorry, I don't have a car yet, but if you get me a car, I'll promise you I'll know the meaning of it, or I'll know the definition. Ben, I'm still waiting for your for you to rephrase your question so I understand what you mean. But I'm just trying to pick a guess of what you mean by I moved it severally before starting. So basically, I drew. If you're talking about the shape, maybe me moving it severally. So basically, first thing I did was what? I drew a rectangle like this, and you notice I started moving it maybe like this up or something like this before starting. If this is what you're asking about, I'm trying to adjust it to the perspective I want to first. It has to sit, like it has to sit properly. It has to sit properly on the angles. Remember I said angles are part, like you need angles to conform your shapes to angles in isometric illustration. So now what I'm then doing is to conform it to the angle I want to. So basically like this now, if you notice, it's more like a wall. starting here. So I can do something like a roof. So once I adjust it like this, facing maybe top right. You know, isometric illustrations can just be done in angles. Based on the angles, sorry if I'm trying to do Jackie Chan or something, but like it was done on these angles already. So basically I can either conform it to those angles. You understand? So me just adjusting it is just adjusting it to those angles. That was what I was trying to do. Okay, I guess that was what you were talking about. Thank you very much. So now let's continue. I'm doing a van, like I said. So let me do things like mm, let me do things like I'm trying to normally there are more maybe simpler methods I'm going to use, but I'm trying to do it in a way that you will get to understand what I am doing. Um, so I come here. I want to create a light around this object. I just noticed this is not sitting properly. Right, it is now. I don't think the top one is sitting properly either. Alright, so I quickly want to create a light. So basically, I don't want this angle to touch. You know, basically, you're moving pixel, but this is just 1 pixel in your design. This is just 1 pixel. Now, I can go half. What I mean by half, I can go half pixel. So notice this is intersect. Now this is for this shape itself. Once you something like this intersect center, can you see? It shows you that you've gone halfway. You've gone to reduce this shape to the center. If I let go of my mic now, of my mouse, can you see? I've gone half of that 1 pixel, which is 0.5. So guides are very, very essential, especially smart guides. So now what am I going to do here now? I'm going to take this one halfway through. Can you see? It's showing me intersect. That means it's what? It's at the center. I go to the next one too. So I don't need to start calculating anything. It just lets me know where the center of my work. Can you see? It's showing me what center. It just shows me where the center of my design needs to be, and it's already there. So I press Ctrl C, Ctrl V. So I'm trying to make a light headlamp rather. Oh wow. I just I'm coming. Let me add this back. Alright. So now I can basically move this one on the same axis instead of having to duplicate as well. So now this is the importance of smart guides. So basically we're already having something that looks like a van little by little. So I'm just doing a boxy kind of van for now. So now let's do door handles. Okay. I have a few minutes to go. I guess it might just be this van we get to do in this class. But I believe with these few points of mine or with this few knowledge, you'll be able to do way crazier things than I did here. So if you notice, all I'm just trying to do is to conform to this line. Can we down? Yes. No, I would advise you not to download PNG. Like I said, you will see the .eps or .vector file. Download that one instead. You understand? That one you can, instead of having to draw, because once you download it as a .eps, it's going to come as an illustrator or source file. You understand? And what you're just doing eventually is just conforming what your design to that grid. I'm coming, please. So sometimes all these things you need to be very specific about them. If not, it won't sit properly. So if you notice, I don't have enough grades to work with here. So now what I'm just going to try to do now is to what? Is to conform this thing along one of these lines so it's working properly. So I'm trying to create a very small, very small door handle. So as far as it's following one of these lines, I'm good to go. So now what I can just do here now, I'll hold my shift button because it's going to put it along the vertical axis. So if you notice, I've done a door handle like this. I think it should be easily placed maybe close to the middle. So I can bring this down. Okay. So this door handle is fine this way. Alright. So let's do something. Let's do a backlight as well. That one can easily sit there. I think I want to make this backlight a bit smaller. So if you notice, I'm just trying to ensure I conform it to these angles first before I make other adjustments. Alright. Okay, I think I really do need to make this frontal lights smaller, so I can do something a bit cooler at the front of the truck. Okay. Some of all these tricks, please don't do them on your own without. If you notice, I have to come back now. If you notice, this is not conforming to the line. So what I will just do is to come back up here, since I don't have any grid or any guides to help me there. So what I'll just do is to come here. I select both these edges, and here's what I do. I'm adjusting this one to the line here. I come back and I bring it back to reality like this. So I can move this one down here as well. Sorry, I'm going to hold the option key. I think it's Alt on the Mac. On Windows. So yeah, I think this light is way smaller and better. Then we can do something like a give me a moment. So I'm going to conform it to this grid now. Alright. Let me adjust this a bit on this angle so that it looks okay. Hopefully I'm still in perspective. So sometimes once you get way better at this, you can maybe conform these things to better suit you. So now basically I just want only this top. So what I can do is to select this line here. I press Ctrl C, and I'm going to make a duplicate only of that line and not the entire shape. So now I can just start drawing this across. So I'm going to give them a proper spacing among each of them. So I come to this align tool. So basically, if you're not seeing the align, anything you're not seeing, any tool you're not seeing me use, you can see all of them on the windows and you turn them on. So now I come to, instead of align to the artboard, aligning to the artboard means I'm going to be adjusting the selection. Now, if I want to give equal spacing among these things, and I went to go and select align to artboard, if I click distribute horizontal, this is what will happen. It's going to distribute it along this entire artboard. That's not what I want. I want to just ensure it's only within this selection. I just want them to have equal spacing. So what I come is to align it to the selection, and I click what distribute center. Sorry. What did I do wrong? I believe this one obeys a different law when it comes to another tool called the scissors tool. So basically all these parts coming out, I can either select all of them. I can select all of them and come to my shape builder tool, which is this, and start cutting them out. I'm holding the Alt key. If you notice, the plus is turning into minus. I can hold the Alt key and just start gliding across them like this. Or I can use the scissors tool. So you can use the scissors tool to cut shapes and cut lines, mainly strokes. So once I come to this, once I'm using the scissors tool, just notice, you notice this line is long as this. So what I'm going to do is to come here and I press C. This is the scissors tool. You can see it here, scissors tool, or you press the shortcut key. Once I select the line I want to cut out, it immediately cuts everything out, and I can use this part like this. So I come here again, I press C, which is the shortcut for scissors. I cut it from this shape. So now the scissors tool can work anywhere. I select here like this, I press C, I cut here. Do you notice? It's no longer a part of it. Let me see if there are any questions. Can we yeah, okay, we still can. Okay. If there are any questions, please just let me know as I'm trying to round off the class. All right. Okay, so we've done the frontal part of this van. So now what next? What can we add to now? We can work on the tires. So I'm coming, let me blend this part together. So I use the shape builder tool to merge boxes. So if you notice, these are two separate shapes. So what I can do is to merge these these bottom sides together by using the shape builder, and basically this is it. I've merged both sides together. So now let's create a tire, or the truck's tires. So this is how we do it. You come, select this, angle first. So now also you should note that and you come to stylize. Once you want to create rounded corners, so first things first, you create your rectangle. You come to stylize, you go to round corners. So I can start rounding my corners here. Do you notice now it looks way better? So can you see? It looks way better as a tire. So now what we can start doing is to create those other shapes. So now when I talked about the points, if you notice, look at the points of, okay, after that, once you've rounded the corners, one key thing, you come to expand appearance. Yeah. So we are good to go. So now what you can come now, if you notice, look at all these points. It's touching all these angles. If it's not touching them, you can bring it to sit properly on them. So if you notice, it must touch these angles. Every part of your design must touch those angles. It's going through it. Like it's not going outside. Let's continue. So I just press a Ctrl C, Ctrl V, and I make a bigger shape out of it. So now you can either do it this way, or you can use the what do they call it? The offset part. But I think for making this class as basic as it should be, I'm just going to use this one. So now basically what I'm going to do here now is I'll create the first tire here. And once I create this tire here, what I'll just do is to duplicate it across board, across areas that requires it being duplicated. So now I make a duplicate for the inner part of the car, for the inner part of the tires. Hopefully hopefully everybody is still following me. So I'm going to connect this part of the tire with the other part of the just duplicated tire. Alright. Okay, so if I bring this out, basically you just only need this front facing side. So it's just this front facing side people will get to see even when you're done with these designs. So I'm done with this. So now basically what I can do is to quickly come here and make a, please, if you're still following me, if you're still with this class, please indicate with an emoji or something. If things are getting complicated, please indicate as well, and I'll try to explain anything you're not understanding so far. So I used, the first time I did Ctrl C and I wrote Ctrl V, and what did I do? I just scaled this one down initially. So that's what I'm doing again here for the tire. So now I'm going to take this. These tires are very big, so let me reduce it a bit. So now this initial part I'm doing is going to be the cutout for the tire section in the car, the place where tires should be. Okay, yeah. What I'll just do now is to take this out. I add one tire here. So usually at the back of trucks there are usually 2 tires. So I'll just add I'll add another one here. Okay, so basically let me take this to the front a bit. It's seeming as though it's far away from the cutouts for tire already. Alright, so we can go like this. So basically I'm selecting 2 shapes. Give me a moment. So I'm selecting this outer rectangle and this outer circle to make a cutout for the vehicle's tire. So what I'll just do now is to merge some parts together. Just try and follow me, please. I'm coming. cutting out these shapes so that I can get this line out of the way. Yeah. So I can make this a fill already. Alright, so since we've gotten this one out the way, since we've done this one, I think instead of having to cut them out from here as well, I know it's a bit tricky. You might have to come back to watch these videos, this video a couple of a couple of times. So instead of just using those ones, what I'll just do is to I'll just take this and duplicate it instead. So I'm still holding my Alt key or Option on the Mac, and here's just what I'll do. Alright, thank you. My timekeeper has waved a sign to me. I'm coming. So the other one too, if you notice, these edges, like the corners, those straighter parts that are near the tire, I'm trying to align them straight on what this line of the bus as well, which is what I'm doing now. And yeah, I think I've gotten it. So what I'll just do now is to use my scissors tool to cut out these other unnecessary parts of the bus. So I come here, I click on my scissors tool, or I press the C command, come here. I need to have ensured I've selected this rectangle first. So what I'm just doing, sorry, let me zoom in a bit. Okay. Alright, so and I go to this one as well. Okay, so here we go, we have our tires, and basically we can just add, you know, shades and tints to this, and we've got a perfectly good looking van. So okay, what I mean is by for example, I can say my sunlight is coming from this angle. It's coming from maybe this top angle here. Do you understand? So that means I would want to make this other part maybe a color dim like this. Okay, let's just leave this. I may have missed some cutouts from this what do they call it? From these shapes, and it might affect the how these shapes are tend to come out a bit. But I believe we can just leave that part out for now, so that I even try to make. I don't want to go too much into the details, so that we can even try to ensure that you get to understand some parts of this design before moving ahead. Yeah. All right. So for now, let me just leave these shapes like this. Um, what we can do is to give it a shadow underneath. So what I can do is this, Ctrl C and Ctrl V again. So now I'm going to bring this shape out. And if you want to basically if you want to give it a shadow, you can just do something like this. You bring something out underneath. You can add more colors as you wish. You can do this. Select it again here, and you just move it out basically, and there's a shadow underneath your boss. I think I can make this shadow a bit better. Or even if you're not even doing a shadow, you want to make it, you've seen all those isometric 3D designs, and all you want to maybe make it as if it's on a form of a platform. You can come out and do something like this and just connect it with edges. And here you go. So it will seem as if it's on a platform. I can bring this out here for you to see. So because it might not be as clear on the grid as you're seeing it here. So now this is just one good example. Let me just cut this out. I'm not using the shape builder tool yet because it's a bit complex. Hopefully in the next class, I'll be able to, if we're not talking on isometric, I'll still be able to shed more light on colors, on using colors on these things before doing proper work. So yeah, here you go. If you have any questions, I think now is the right time to actually ask those questions before I call it quits for the class, or call it a day for the class. I think one final or major thing I would like to talk about before closing the class for today, it will be about exporting. So now when you're saving your files, there are different ways to save your file as an illustrator. Saving your files as an illustrator, you have to ensure you need to understand or know where these files are going to be used in the first place. You need to know where these files are going to be used. If you don't know where they are going to be used, it's going to be really tough for whoever is going to use it. For example, you're asked to maybe create this form of isometric illustrations that will be used in a website. And now, having to do that now, you need to send, once you're done with your work, you need to send it to the maybe UI designer. The UI designer is receiving a JPEG instead of an SVG file. He sends it to he uses it in the design. Everything looks good because it's on a design. But now there's a problem when the developer wants to work on it. The developer is seeing a very simple shape, you understand, something that could have been lighter, but now because of it was sent to the developer as a JPEG or a PNG format, you understand, the developer will have to reduce the size of that image or that file, and in reducing the size of that file, what is happening? The image, what happens to it? It becomes very blurry. And I explained the difference between raster image and vector image. If you save a file as SVG, I'll show you in a minute. If you save your file as an SVG, files that are lesser, you understand, shapes like this, now even if you add colors to them, they would not still look complex at all. They will not look complex at all. Do you understand? So it's best saving these ones as SVG because of what? When the developer wants to use them, you can use them in little size. A file like this now can be saved in maybe 15 kilobytes. And now the lesser the size of that image or the lesser the size of that file, you understand, the higher or the quicker your site will load. So in things like, for example, when you're making a painting, now that one is quite understandable. You can send the file as a PNG, a transparent PNG. But once you're creating files from like shapes and when you're using your pen tool, you're creating shapes out of things. I would always suggest you use suggest saving your file in SVG. Now, how do you do that? You come to your file, and majorly, like I said, it's based on the requirements that are needed. So if you're sending a very complex art to to a designer or to a developer, what is happening? If you're sending a complex art to a designer or the UI designer, for example, for web, you understand? I think these are some things you need to first know. Putting it in perspective, you need to know where these designs will be used. So, for example, if the design will just be used on a poster, like a flyer or something, you can go ahead and sending it as a JPEG because that is how it will be printed. Or if it's going to be used on a website and you know it's a simple art that will have to be used, do you understand? You need to save it as an SVG. Now, this is where you get to see things happen. Let me save this file first. So now you come to your file, you see two options here. You see the export button and you see save as a copy. So now if you click save as, you are going to update this current file you are working with. You don't want to do that. You come to save. The first thing, if you want to export as PNG, JPEG, things that things that are picture or raster compliant, you come to export and export as. So once you see export as, what are you just seeing here? From the format here, you can select the options you want to. You can save it as a PNG. PNG means transparent file. You can save it as a what? A JPEG. You select artboard. Artboard is the place you're working on. So this first one with the isometric grid is your first artboard. So your second artboard is the one I just duplicated those items to. I'll show you that one in a minute. So now I can select the range. So okay, I want what do I want to save as a picture? Is it the content on the first artboard or the second one, or what, or both of them? So now for now, if you click all, you're going to save all the artboards as what? A JPEG. But now I just want only the second one. So I click on number 2, which is the second artboard, and I click what? Export. Here I'm popped up with a few questions like asking me, okay, what is the quality? So the lesser the quality, the less clear that image will be. I think quality is quite explanatory. And you click what? OK. Once you click OK, your file is saved, and you can see the isometric grid here. So now it's saved as an image. But now you can also choose to save as a transparent what? PNG. And also, if you want to save as SVG, here is where it gets tricky. You come to the what? Save as a copy option here. When you see save as a copy, you then come to format. So now you notice it's showing you, instead of, it's not going to save just the format of in JPEG or this thing. Now it's showing you more complex options. You can save in .eps. .eps is the general format for saving vector and vector graphics in general. So if you save it as .eps, you can open it in vector compliant softwares like CorelDRAW and Illustrator. You can save as a PDF. If you want to save as SVG, please don't select this first one. You select the SVG here, not SVG compressed. You select the artboards. If you want to save both artboards, you know what to do. So when you come to this second one, you click save. You'll be popped up with some few questions here. I always advise to turn off preserve Illustrator editing capabilities. It reduces the size of the file a bit more, and you click OK. So this is what happens. This is that same file, but what? It is in SVG. If I can click on this quickly, I'm going to click on info. So now this is the size of the JPEG file I saved. I saved it in WAP, and this is the size of the image now. What is the size here? 1.4 MB. Now check the SVG, the XVG format. What are you seeing? You're seeing what? 8 kilobytes. So that's the size. So that's the size comparisons. Do you understand? So you're seeing it's the same file you're getting. Do you understand? SVG wouldn't work on everything like I've explained. I don't know why you would not need to save an image as SVG. You understand? It's maybe vector files that you've created like this that you should save as SVG. If you have any questions, I think now is the time for you to let me know. I would also advise you try it out. I think 2 major things for you to try out to do. First things first, try this out. Then second thing, add colors to it. That's what I'll advise you. I'll be waiting if there are any questions to ask. If there are no questions, I would be calling it, I'll be ending the class in a minute or in a bit. Give me a moment. hopefully. So I'm guessing that everybody understands what I just shared. I know it's a bit complex. I know it's it was just from like we're just doing a box just now. What happened? We've gone into a vehicle. I'm sure if you go back to this video and sit down to watch it, you'll be able to recreate this. I'll advise you to sit down and recreate this, and also read up articles concerning isometric illustrations and also coloring in isometric illustration. One good reference for you is going to be IBM's illustration guide for creating isometric illustrations. Seeing that there are no questions, it was really lovely having you in class today. I appreciate everyone who was on the class. Peter, who was talking about monkey business, Ruth, who was always answering questions, Chidozie and all. Bola. I appreciate everyone who was in class, everyone I'm seeing now. Thank you for your questions. If you have any more questions, or if you're still trying to digest things, you can send your questions when you finish digesting them to the Discord channel, and someone will be there to respond to you. It was nice having you in class. We'd love to see you next time. Thank you.